My 40 male wife, 36 female, was seen holding hands with another man. And exactly, why are we holding hands with other men when we are married? My wife, 36 female, and I, 40 male, have been together 5 years and got married last year. I would congratulate you, but not after that title you just had. We definitely have our ups and downs, but we are generally happy.
You sure about that?
On Friday, she went out with people from her work for Christmas drinks and arrived home around midnight absolutely hammered. She just said she had a good time and went straight to bed. Yesterday, I got a message on Instagram from an anonymous account claiming to be one of her colleagues, saying she'd be flirting all night with one of the guys from the office, 44 male. And they left together at about 9 to walk to the train station. I would say an anonymous message can't be trusted by its own. Also, it cannot be something that just gets ignored. If she really left at 9 p.m., why did she arrive home after midnight? That's the first part I would want to investigate. The colleague had a couple more drinks for then went to the station herself and says she saw my wife walking hand in hand with the guy through the station about 10:45. They didn't see her. Okay? So where's the proof? Pictures, videos, even if they are far away. I would assume Opie would recognize the dress his wife left in. Last night I showed her the message and asked her for an explanation. She claims she was so drunk she doesn't remember anything that happened after 8 p.m.
Ew.
I asked if she went somewhere with the guy after they left the group, and she checked the location history in her phone, which confirmed that they had gone to a bar near the station for about an hour. They arrived at the station at 10:40. How convenient, not remembering anything that happened after 8 p.m. She gave me her phone and insisted I check it, and there was no suspicious messages or anything. As far as I could tell, she doesn't have the guy's number in her phone, and they are not following each other on Instagram or friends on Facebook. Okay, handing over the phone is a strong move from her side. But they are co-workers, they don't need each other's phone number or social media to interact. I asked if she was flirting with him, and she admitted that she was talking mostly with him all night. But that's just because he's the only person in her office she has anything in common with, and that they're just friends and it wasn't flirting. She's mentioned this guy to me before and said how much they have in common. Okay. We are just friends. We have so much in common is exactly how these situations mostly start. It doesn't prove that anything happened, but I really don't like that they separated from the group and went to another bar, only the two of them. I asked if they were holding hands and she said she doesn't remember, but she doesn't think so. She claims to know who sent the message and says it's a woman in the office who hates her, although she doesn't know why. I don't remember, but I don't think so. It's not comforting. Also, now we all of a sudden got a mysterious villain co-worker. Maybe she's right, but it's very convenient. Today, she's been in a terrible mood and we've not really spoken. So that's where we are. I'm not sure what to do. Is this a big red flag, as it seems to be? Yeah, this is definitely something you cannot just brush off. Missing time, new details only after she's been asked, and now distance and bad mood instead of reassurance. So Opie didn't just leave it there, we have updates. But before we get into it, if you enjoyed the mess so far, I have so much more stories left to show you. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss them. Update. A few people requested an update to my last post and a lot has happened in the last week, so here it is. I'll post any further updates on my profile. Sam came home from work on Monday and casually said that she's spoken with the guy Tom, and he'd confirmed that they hadn't held hands, they'd just been walking arm in arm because she was drunk and wearing heels. The key issue isn't the hand holding or not. If my coworker is so drunk, I will call them an Uber and send them home, not take them to a second location. I asked why her colleague Helen would make an Instagram account, track me down and message me saying they held hands if it wasn't true.
Exactly.
She said Helen is basically in love with Tom and made a pass at him just after his divorce, but he rejected her. How convenient again. If I would be Sam, I would tell this story to my husband because it's hot tea. But maybe that's just me. I asked why Helen would feel threatened by her. She said because her and Tom are friends, and Helen's a crazy jealous as evidenced by the Instagram message. I asked why she went for a drink, just her and Tom. She said that according to Tom, they walked past this bar with an amazing live band playing, so they stopped in for a drink. I love how now Helen is a crazy and the Instagram message is proof of her insanity. While Opie's wife is accidentally involved in a detour and romantic live music. Her only regret was doing too many shots too early and getting. The next day, she went shopping after work and came home with a new dress. I asked what the occasion was and she said her work Christmas party. What? Didn't we already had that? Last week was just drinks with people from her office. The company Christmas party is on Friday. Apparently, she'd mentioned this. I hardly slept that night. The next day, I decided to reply to the Instagram message to get more info. I asked, do you think anything's going on with them? Helen, I assume, quickly replied with a long message saying that they flirt at work and everyone's noticed. Apparently, Sam was going to be let go, but Tom put in a good word, so she kept her job.
Huh?
Tom protects her in the office and will consistently defend her. How the Opie wouldn't know about his wife almost losing her job and then having a coworker stepping up for her?
I am more confused than a housekeeper working for a homeless man.
She also said that Sam about me to the whole office and it's clear we don't have a happy marriage. So now we moved on from that night into claims about your entire marriage dynamic. Wonderful. I asked if she was going to the Christmas party and she said she was. She said she'd update me if anything happened. Sam finished work early on Friday, so she had time to get ready. She looked amazing and I really didn't want her to go, but I felt like I couldn't say anything. I got an Instagram message about midnight saying that Sam and Tom hadn't interacted at the party, but that people from the office had decided to leave and go to a different bar. They all just left before 11 and were at the new bar by 10 past. Sam and Tom turned up just before midnight. It is interesting that they didn't interact the whole night, but they turn up together after anyone else later. This is the definition of red flags. Sam arrived home about 2 a.m., not quite as drunk as last time, and went straight to sleep. I pretended to be fast asleep. I looked at the location history on her phone. After leaving the venue, she'd taken a 3-mile detour to a residential street, stayed for half an hour, then gone to the bar. I sent the address to Helen. She didn't reply until the next morning when she said it was Tom's house.
That's what I'll be.
This is definitely the most concerning detail so far. But even then, we still don't know what happened. When Sam woke up, I just asked her straight out if she cheated on me with Tom last night. She angrily denied it.
None of it's true. It's BS. They made it up. They lie.
I told her that I knew she'd been to Tom's house. She accused me of spying on her, called me controlling, said she was going to stay with her sister. Okay, but if the wife would be innocent, why she would turn it around? She should reassure you because the circumstances are very confusing. Instead, now you're the bad guy somehow. I demanded an explanation and she said she went to his house so they could smoke a before heading to the bar. Then she stormed out. I'm sorry, I don't trust her for a second. She wouldn't reply to my messages or answer my calls all day Sunday. I called her sister who said she hadn't seen her, but she texted me later that she'd spoken to Sam and she was okay. What do you mean the sister hadn't seen her? Wasn't she staying with her? Sam came home yesterday morning. I asked where she'd been and she just said she couldn't do this anymore and she wants a divorce.
Wait, what?
She went to start packing some clothes while I tried to get her to talk to me. I asked if she was leaving me for Tom. She once again denied anything inappropriate had happened between them, but said my jealousy was the final straw. It's clear I don't trust her. I'm controlling. I take her for granted. She's deeply unhappy, has been for a while. I cannot believe she managed to make herself to be the victim. So she's gone. It looks like I'll be spending my first Christmas alone. I have no idea if she was telling the truth or if it was an affair. Weirdly, I'm not feeling too bad today, so maybe this is for the best. I think she's gaslighting you, so it's probably for the best. But we have so much more to untangle in the story, so I will just keep going. Update. Once she was gone, Sam blocked me on all of her social media and refused to return my messages or answer my calls. I ended up traveling to the other side of the country to spend Christmas with my parents. On Christmas Eve, Sam came home and took more of her stuff. I watched her on our security cameras. I tried phoning her, but she ignored my calls. Christmas wasn't great, and my parents were both shocked and in denial about what had happened. They had no idea we were having issues and insisted Sam would come to her senses and come home. Well, it feels like you also didn't know that you guys had issues. Basically, she just left without ever saying that she was unhappy. Eventually, I just said she'd met someone else. I returned home on the 27th. I'd been getting sporadic updates from Sam's sister, just letting me know she's alright, but without any details. Before all this happened, we'd made plans to spend New Year's Eve at Sam's favorite bar in the city. I went on my own, but she didn't show up. On Tuesday night, I received an Instagram message from Helen saying that Sam and Tom had arrived at work together in Tom's car.
Oh, I hate being right!
I didn't bother replying. On Wednesday night, she sent another message saying Sam was poisoning the office against her and Tom was pushing upper management to transfer her to another office or get rid of her. She begged me to do something. What you are supposed to do? You cannot even make Sam to talk to you. It's not like you have any control in this situation. I texted Sam and said we needed to talk, but she didn't reply. So the next day, I called her work switchboard, gave a fake name, and got put through. I could tell she wasn't happy to hear my voice, but she agreed to meet up after work at a local pub and talk. I got there early and she arrived 25 minutes late. She apologized for ignoring my calls and said she still cares about me and wants to end things on good terms. I said, just tell me the truth. She promised that she wasn't having an affair with Tom and they were just friends. She admitted that they talk a lot in the office, but insisted it wasn't an emotional affair. No, because it was probably a physical one. She understands why I was suspicious after the Instagram message, but said I should have accepted her denial and trusted her. She has a lot of male friends, but she felt like she couldn't hang out with them because I'd get jealous. Yeah, trust doesn't work like that. You cannot just demand it when suspicious things happening around you. I pointed out that I've never told her not to hang out with anyone, but she said I'd be in a mood whenever she'd hang out with a guy friend. She feels like we only got married to try and fix a relationship that was already broken. Our conversations have devolved into small talk and we've drifted apart. I said I heard that she and Tom arrived at work together. Sam said she went to Tom's after I accused her of cheating and knew it was over between us. They spent the weekend together and agreed they'd make a better couple than we did. She needed me to know that nothing happened between them until after she told me she wanted a divorce. I mean, we don't believe that, right? And now they were together and she wanted me to hear it from her because I saw it on social media. Tom was waiting outside for her in the car. Is there anyone who believes in this timeline? Nobody's leaving their marriage without an explanation and then getting together with someone who they never cheated with. Her explanations are laughable. All I could do was stand up and walk out. Sam texted me saying she knew I was upset but not to do anything stupid. I blocked her number. I'm not gonna lie, it was a rough night. The next day, I was just numb. Didn't really do much. Over the weekend, I dug out our marriage certificate so I can start divorce proceedings. I have no idea what to say to Helen, so I haven't replied. You have enough on your plate, and Helen is not your business to deal with. I think the plan now is to try to find a new job closer to my hometown. I moved across the country to live with Sam, and I've never really felt settled here. I also don't want to run into her and Tom around town. Luckily, we rent. This will probably be my last update unless something miraculous happens, so thanks for reading. I mean, that's completely understandable. You have no business to stay there if you're unhappy. But of course, the story doesn't end there. OP posted under a new title, and I'm scared. What are the potential consequences of IVF fraud? My soon-to-be ex-wife is pregnant and has suggested to her friend that it's mine. The only way this is possible is if she had her final frozen embryo implanted without my permission. What a cluster. If that's what she's done, then either the IVF clinic haven't asked for my sign-off or she's somehow convinced them that I've granted permission. When I left our shared home in January, I couldn't find my passport, so it's likely she has it. I didn't expect the story will get worse after the relationship ended, but every line I read just gets worse and worse. I'm waiting for a call back from the clinic, but I'm freaking out and want to get an idea of the potential consequences. Could she get sent to prison? What will happen to the clinic? What happens when the baby arrives considering the circumstances?
That's a really good question.
We are in England. Thanks. This escalated beyond what I expected. The questions you asked are the right ones, but the answers are mainly up to your next steps. Everything depends on if you want to report this or not. If nobody reports it, then it's no case. Edit, I finally spoken to the clinic manager and it seems this is all down to my own stupidity. When our last embryo didn't take, we signed all the paperwork a few weeks later to do the final transfer. My wife then developed some hormonal issues, so we paused due process until she could get it sorted out. Then for various reasons, we decided not to proceed with the transfer, which she told the clinic. Apparently, they just paused the process for up to 3 years in order to protect our deposit, and the consent forms remained valid. My wife had the transfer 6 weeks ago. That is horrifying, but there is more. OP wrote this under another title again. I'm 41 male, about to move back in with my pregnant ex-wife 37 female. How can we make this work? That's a huge change for everyone. I don't think I could do it. My ex-wife is pregnant with our first child due on Christmas Eve. There's more detail in my profile, but essentially we broke up last Christmas and I moved back in with my parents 200 plus miles away. Okay, but what happened with Tom? She started a relationship with a co-worker which caused so much drama at her work that in February she reached a mutual agreement that she would immediately resign in exchange for 6 months' salary. The relationship ended and she used the settlement money to restart the IVF process we'd paused years earlier. She really thought this would be the right time to start a family? Or was this her plan to force you back into a relationship with her? When I found out she was pregnant, I contacted the IVF clinic, who explained that the contracts we signed at the start of the process were still valid and they hadn't done anything wrong. Maybe the IVF clinic should change on their procedures so this could never happen again. I disagreed, and thanks to the advice, recommendations of r/Legal Advice UK, I hired solicitors specializing in clinical negligence and contract law. They managed to negotiate a settlement with the clinic in lieu of legal action, and my ex and I ended up with about £80,000 each after fees. Get your change, OP. Plus, the clinic updated their process to require consent be confirmed by both parties before any embryo transfer takes place. Yeah, as they should have from the beginning. For the last 4 months, I've been in regular contact with my ex, discussing settlement negotiations and traveling down south for scans. When I asked why she did it, she said that she knew this was her last chance to have a baby, and when she came into some money, she took it as a sign that she should go ahead with the embryo transfer before I remembered to withdraw consent. If I were you, I would sue her ass. Basically, she admitted fault. She knew you would never consent to this, and she did it anyway. She's since been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which in her mind has absolved her of any responsibility for her actions. Bipolar disorder explains certain behaviors or shift in judgment, but it doesn't automatically erase the decisions she made. Bipolar or not, she's gaslighting you again. She's desperate for us to get back together and raise our son as a family.
Don't do it.
I'm not interested in being a couple, but I obviously don't want to be 200 miles away from my son. I've got a new job, so I really didn't want to move back down to Hampshire. But she was willing to move up to Yorkshire as long as we lived together. So we agreed to spend the settlement money on a house in my hometown. I mean, this sounds practical, but also insane. She has you under her thumb, and basically she does whatever she wants. I picked up the keys last week, and I've been furnishing, decorating in preparation for us moving in next week. My ex has no friends or family around here and no job. Us living together is going to be super awkward. But once the baby comes, I'm hoping we can get into a co-parenting routine. The new house has 3 bedrooms, so we'll have one each and one for our son. We've agreed not to see other people for at least 3 years, her request. How do you want to co-parent under the same roof and not being together? It sounds so unhealthy and not good for anyone. Not you, not her, and not for the kid. What's the best way to navigate this situation? Not with living together, for sure. We are both very excited to be parents, and I hope I'm making the best of situation, but it's obviously fraught with potential pitfalls. You think? I don't see us rekindling a romantic relationship, but in an ideal world, we'll live together for a few years, then sell the house, by which point she'll be settled here and we can live close to each other and co-parent our son. I hope I'm not being unbelievably naive and making a huge mistake. My parents are excited to be grandparents, but they are not keen on the idea of us living together. It is definitely a mistake, a huge one. How big is going to come out with time, and I think we're gonna figure it out soon. Update: to say my last post got a negative response would be an understatement. It was a strange feeling reading all the replies saying what a mistake I was making after putting in so much thought and spending a lot of time and effort to get where I was. Someone sent me a link to a TikTok of my previous posts. Hearing the worst time of my life being read out loud really affected me and brought out a lot of feelings of guilt and shame. It made me realize that I haven't even begun to process what happened last Christmas or why, and I contacted a therapist the next day. I'm glad this pushed you to reach out for help. I'm sure it was hard to hear your story publicly, but I think most people not doing this maliciously. We just discussing these stories to show that they are matter and that we are here for you and you are not alone. Personally, this is what my channel is about, so people can feel they can relate to someone. Sam moved in the day before my first appointment. It was awkward, but she was busy organizing her new room, so I just left her to it. That night, we ordered pizza and watched a movie. It was nice. I met the therapist the next day and explained the situation. He thought the whole thing was a bad idea, but as we were living together, he agreed to help us navigate things as smoothly as possible. He thought couples therapy would be the best option. Sam and I have seen him every week since then and gone through our entire relationship. After 4 miscarriages, the last 2 at 12 plus weeks, absolutely wrecked Sam's mental health, and I started cooling on the idea of continuing to try for a child. Instead of talking to Sam, she so desperately wanted to be a mom, I thought it would break her. I just pulled away from her. Of course, she noticed and blamed herself and began spiraling. Couple this with undiagnosed bipolar disorder and the hormone issues which resulted from the IVF, and it was a recipe for disaster. What I don't understand, why couldn't you guys started to talk about this earlier? Why it had to be so far gone before you even started to communicate with each other? Sam thought, possibly correctly, that I wanted out of the relationship but was too cowardly to come out and say it. So I just checked out and waited for her to get sick of me. The whole Tom situation was the straw that broke the camel's back, and she gave up fighting for our marriage and let me get out guilt-free. In therapy, I've learned to accept my responsibility for the breakup of our marriage. I wasn't a good husband towards the end, and it's a miracle Sam stuck around as long as she did. The time apart made me realize how much I still love her. We agreed to try and embrace what's happened and be thankful it brought us to where we are now. Hopefully, we both learned lessons that will make our relationship stronger. I know I have. So we are now back living as a couple. I canceled the divorce, which was taking ages as Sam refused to engage with it. What can I say to that? Congratulations. I think this is crazy toxic though, and I have a hard time to believe it's gonna work out. Our son was born on December 11th, 2 weeks earlier than expected, and he's absolutely perfect. I'm holding him as I write this. I know a lot of people who read my previous post will be disappointed with how I've handled this, but at the end of the day, we've only got one chance at life, and I honestly can't think of a better way to spend mine. Thanks for all your advice over the past year, and Merry Christmas. I don't think people are disappointed because you didn't act the way they wanted. I think they are just concerned for you, and since the post still didn't end here, I think they are not wrong. OP wrote a new post under a new title again. Can I take my son out of the country without his mother express permission? What the hell is going on here again? My wife gave birth to our son in December. She suffers from untreated bipolar disorder, and after Christmas she developed severe postpartum depression. We agreed that she go and stay with her mom for a week as she was spiraling and needed a break. She never came back, and we are no longer in direct contact. Our last conversation was over a month ago and it didn't go well. She apparently has no interest in being in our son's life or even getting updates on him. As far as I know, she's still living with her mom 200 plus miles away. I mean, this story becomes crazier and crazier. She basically forced you to have a child with her, and now she's out. She is an adult and she is responsible for her kid, like it or not. I've been offered a secondment at my company's Swedish office covering maternity leave for a year. I want to take it, but I don't want to tell my wife as she would likely to try to throw a spanner in the works. I have my son's passport and original birth certificate. Can I just go without telling her? She said she doesn't want to hear about it, but technically, legally, I think you still have to tell her. We also own a house together, which I like to rent out while I'm away. If she turns up out of the blue and finds someone else living here, could she do anything? There's no mortgage and all the bills are in my name, but she's on the deeds. Again, I don't think you can rent it out without her permission since she's on the deed. To be clear, if she ever decides to unblock me and wants to see our son, then of course we'd come back. I'm not looking to take him away from her forever, but I think this would be good for us. I agree with you, this would be definitely good for you guys, but in the same time, you cannot do it without her permission. If you do, it can be treated as kidnapping. You cannot just take him because you decided without her permission. When I was little, my mom moved to another country with me, and my dad had to sign it so she could take me. So yeah, if you take him, just ask her permission first. If she doesn't want to do anything with your son, she will sign it anyway. Okay guys, we reached the last update. I cannot wait to see the conclusion of the story. Update: it's been almost 2 years since my original post written in a panic after I received an anonymous Instagram message saying my wife had been seen holding hands with another man. It's been a crazy couple of years, which I've documented on this random Reddit profile, mainly due to the lack of people in my real life to discuss this with. I'm glad at least you have read it and you got some good advice from here. This will be my last post on this account. I want to thank everyone who gave me advice over the years, even when it was obvious I wasn't going to listen to it. I still get messages asking for updates, so here's the final one. OP, thank you for taking the time and coming back to update us. There's no point going into all the glory details, but needless to say, most of you were right that Sam and I getting back together would be a disaster.
Oh, well, Duh, right?
At least you can say you did your best and you tried everything you could. We had a good couple of months with a new baby and a new house, but things started going downhill fast in the new year. And Sam's mental health fell off a cliff once I went back to work. She ended up going to stay with her mom for a few weeks and never came back. We had a big argument on FaceTime and then she stopped all contact and blocked me everywhere. So basically, she just ended up continuing her old bad behavior. Luckily, my parents are retired and stepped in to watch the baby while I was at work. I soon started working from home, which helped. A few months after Sam left, my boss asked if I'd be interested in a secondment to our company's Swedish office to cover maternity leave for a year. As Sam was refusing to speak to me, I was just going to accept the job and move to Sweden without telling her. Thankfully, Reddit gave me a lot of good advice about what a bad idea that would be. Thank God you listened to Reddit's advice in this case. I reached out to Sam's uncle on Facebook and he gave me her mom's number. She was pleased to hear from me and filled me in just how bad Sam's mental health had become, culminating in a manic episode that led to her spending 2 weeks at an independent facility. What the hell? Why didn't your mother-in-law call you to let you know what's going on? I explained my side of the story and a few weeks later she'd managed to convince Sam to meet with me. So I drove down with our son. It was the first time Sam had seen either of us in about 4 months, and for the first time since we got together, I didn't feel any love for her. I didn't feel anything except resentment, not even pity, and she was acting as pitiful as possible. Her refusal to interact with our son made my blood boil, but I put all that to one side and we finally had a conversation. I won't go into too much detail, but Sam is now on medication, which is making a big difference. She doesn't feel ready to be a mother and doesn't know if she ever will. Her behavior over the past few years has been down to her mental health. She feels like she needs to travel in order to fully recover. We agreed that I take primary custody of our son and move to Sweden with him for at least a year. Sam would sign over her half of the house for £25,000 and no child support payments. We'd proceed with the divorce. I set aside an hour each week for Sam to FaceTime our son. As soon as I got back home, I hired a solicitor to get the ball rolling on all the paperwork. Sam signed a child arrangement order, making me the resident parent, and signed over her half of the house. My parents lent me the £25,000. I put the house up for rent and took the job in Sweden. My son and I moved to Gothenburg over a month ago. So far, I'm absolutely loving it. Everyone in the office is nice. So my cameras died because this story is so chunky. But I'm back and we are gonna finish it once and for all. On weekends, we jump on a tram and explore the city. Gothenburg is beautiful and clean and peaceful with lots of culture and events for babies. I'm so glad your boss offered you this opportunity. Leaving was definitely the best option for you. I'm just glad you did it in the legal way. My parents were happy to have a month in Sweden looking after the baby and decorating the apartment while I was in the office. My son turns 1 just before Christmas, and when I go back to work in January, he'll be old enough for preschool. I'm working from home for the rest of the year. Sam's currently backpacking in Indonesia. We FaceTime occasionally. Not every week, but apparently the signal over there can be spotty. When Sam's not available, we FaceTime with her mom. Reading my previous posts today makes me cringe. They were written in a deep depression that I wasn't even aware of until I was on the other side of it. None of that matters. What's important is both you and your son are in a better place now. Sam was my first real relationship. Before we met, my life was miserable. After we got together, my life was perfect for a while. Or at least so much better, it seemed perfect. I didn't want and wasn't expecting to break up. I assumed my only 2 options were being with Sam or going back to my terrible single life. A lot of people have this mindset. They are staying in a bad relationship because they are assuming otherwise they would be alone forever. But what you are really doing is missing out on the person who could be the one for you. And when we first broke up and I moved back with my parents, it seemed like I was right. I kind of forget about the bad times and just remember that perfect first year when we were a new couple. I was miserable and desperately wanted her back. Then suddenly she was back and pregnant with my baby. Even after the whole Tom thing, I thought this was a chance to reset our relationship, start fresh, and be happy again. Nobody can blame you for that. You did everything from your power to save this relationship. But unfortunately, even then, sometimes things just not working out. I'm sure though you learned so much from this experience. So don't cringe and don't be embarrassed. It is what it is. I can now see that I put her on a pedestal throughout our relationship. We were one of those couples who never argued, as I just let her walk all over me and go along with whatever she wanted. I don't have any real life friends and was always terrified of losing her. Ironically, this walking on eggshells was a big part of why our marriage collapsed in the first place. I let her get away with murder out of fear of being alone. OP, if you ever see this video, I just want to let you know you are not alone. Everybody has their own struggles. And you're welcome in my community anytime if you want to talk. I'm seeing a new therapist and working through the damage these last few years have done. I feel a lot of guilt and regret, but then I look at my son and feel guilty for being regretful. It's a mess, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. I've started taking Swedish lessons and I'm going to sign up for ice hockey in the new year. I played roller hockey in my youth to hopefully make some friends. Amazing idea. The woman whose maternity leave I'm covering might not be coming back. So it's possible I'll be able to stay here more than a year, maybe permanently. I want to thank everyone who gave me advice over the years and all the people who called me a doormat or an idiot or hopelessly naive. You were right. Doesn't matter. You had to walk your own path. Don't be ashamed for making your own decisions. Even if they are backfired, you learned from it. Reading back through the thousands of comments over the last few months has actually helped me move forward, so thank you. This is as much as a happy ending it can be. You went through a lot, but brighter days are ahead. You did your best, you gave everything so you can live with clear conscience. I wish you and your son all the happiness. Hopefully your ex-wife will get better too, so she can have some sort of relationship with her son. I hope you guys enjoyed today's story. If you did, please subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments. I reply them all and see you in the next one.